I just bought your son a snack at the game, my fiancée's daughter said. By morning, my card was drained. $19,400 gone. Snack meant 3 pairs of designer shoes, a new tablet, and VIP box seats. My fiancé laughed. Relax. Consider it her birthday gift early. I smiled and said, Happy birthday. But that night, I froze every card I had on her accounts. At 7 a.m., she opened her app and went silent. 5 minutes later, I got a call from, My name is Arthur, and I'm a dentist. I spend my days fixing damage people ignored too long. Cracked molars, infected roots, hidden decay that looks harmless until the second you touch it and realize the whole structure is rotten underneath. That's probably why, when my fiancé's daughter smiled at me and said, I just bought your son a snack at the game, I didn't hear danger at first. I heard noise. I had just gotten home from a 12-hour day at my practice. 2 emergency extractions, 1 panicked child with a broken front tooth, and a woman who cried through a routine cleaning because her husband had left her the week before. By the time I walked through the front door, my shoulders were tight, my back hurt, and all I wanted was a shower and 10 minutes of silence. My son Oliver was half asleep on the couch in his team hoodie, 1 sock missing, his face still sticky from something sugary. He was 9 and could fall asleep anywhere after a basketball game. Savannah, my fiancée Lauren's 19-year-old daughter, stood in the kitchen scrolling through her phone like she was modeling exhaustion for social media. I just bought your son a snack at the game, she repeated, not even looking up. I loosened my tie and set my keys on the counter. Thanks, I said. That was nice of you. Lauren, my fiancée, sat at the island in a silk robe with a glass of sparkling water. She smiled into her phone. See, she said, we're becoming a real family. I remember looking at them and thinking maybe she was right. Maybe all the little tensions, the weird jokes, the expensive taste, the subtle entitlement. I thought maybe that was just adjustment. Blending families wasn't supposed to be seamless. That's what Lauren kept telling me. She's young. She's testing boundaries. She's not used to stability. She's finally feeling safe. Lauren always framed Savannah's behavior as fragility. If she overspent, it was insecurity. If she snapped, it was stress. If she crossed a line, it was because she was healing. And like an idiot, I kept accepting the explanation because I wanted the outcome. I wanted to believe I could give Oliver a home that felt whole again. My wife, Claire, had died 4 years earlier. A brain aneurysm. One ordinary morning, she kissed Oliver on the head, told me not to forget the grocery list, and left for work. By evening, I was signing paperwork with hands I couldn't feel. After that, I became careful, painfully careful. I didn't date for a long time, and when I finally did, I kept women at arm's length from my son. Oliver had already lost 1 mother. I wasn't going to let temporary people leave permanent damage. Then I met Lauren at a charity fundraiser. She was polished, elegant, and almost unnervingly good at saying exactly the right thing. She never pushed too hard in the beginning. She admired my work, asked thoughtful questions about Oliver, spoke about grief like she understood its shape, without pretending to own it. You don't seem bitter, she told me once over dinner. I don't have time, I said. She smiled softly. That's a very lonely answer. That line stayed with me. It felt like she saw me. Later, I realized she didn't see me. She assessed me. There's a difference. At first, Savannah played her role well too. Respectful enough. Charming when she wanted something. Quick with compliments. She called me impressive the first time she toured my practice. Told me my office smelled expensive, which was a strange compliment, but she said it like she meant it. She told Lauren once, loud enough for me to hear, at least this one has standards. I should have noticed the word this one. Instead, I mistook observation for warmth. The first cracks were small. Savannah ordering the most expensive thing on every menu and laughing, Arthur can handle it. Lauren suggesting I add Savannah to a household card just for emergencies. Package deliveries that kept appearing at the house with vague explanations. Rich airs at midnight. Boutique returns. Premium subscriptions. Tiny leaks of money that never felt worth a fight. Whenever I brought it up, Lauren would touch my arm and say, "Don't make her feel like a burden." That sentence worked on me because I had spent years making sure Oliver never felt like one. So I let things go. That night, after the game, I carried Oliver to bed, tucked him in, and kissed his forehead. He murmured, "Savannah got cotton candy." "Nice," I whispered. But even then, part of my brain snagged on the detail. I'd been to that arena dozens of times. The cotton candy stand wasn't near the lower club level. It was up on the main concourse, near the regular seats. I almost asked more, but Oliver was already drifting off. I should have trusted that instinct. At 5:47 the next morning, my phone buzzed with a bank alert. I opened one eye, saw the number, and sat up so fast I nearly knocked over the lamp. $19,400.27. For a full second, I thought it had to be fraud in the random, impersonal sense. A skimmer. A breach. Some stranger in another state living briefly off my card. Then the rest of the alerts loaded. Luxury retail. Electronics. Ticketing. VIP services. Courier confirmation. Multiple pending authorizations. I got out of bed, took my phone into my office, and opened the banking app with both hands because they were already shaking. The charges were all real. 3 pairs of designer shoes, 1 top-tier tablet, VIP box seat upgrades from the game, private lounge access, merchandise packages, premium delivery fees. The snack had cost me almost $20,000. I sat very still in the dark office and stared at the screen until my vision sharpened into something cold. Some people yell when they get angry. I get quieter. At work, panic makes things worse. Blood, pain, screaming, fear. None of it improves if the man holding the instruments loses control. Years in dentistry had trained me to go still before I moved. So I did what I always do when the damage is deeper than it first appears. I assessed. I pulled up the linked devices on the card account. Savannah's phone was there. So was Lauren's iPad. I checked the ticket confirmations. The purchases had been made in a sequence that told a story. Seat upgrade, luxury suite access, shopping, electronics, merchandise. Not impulse, not confusion. A night of deliberate spending. Then I found the note attached to one of the transactions in the app memo field. Birthday weekend. Relax. I actually laughed, not because it was funny, because people get careless when they think your tolerance is permanent. At 6:03, I called the bank. Yes, I said calmly. Those charges were unauthorized. Yes, the card is mine. No, the cardholder did not have permission to make purchases of this size. Yes, remove all authorized users. Yes, freeze every shared payment method connected to those devices. All of them. The woman on the line paused. Sir, that includes several recurring accounts. I know. When the call ended, I called my attorney, then my financial advisor. Then I printed every statement. By 6:45, every card Lauren and Savannah had access to was frozen. Shared shopping accounts, food delivery accounts, household expenses, rideshare profiles, digital wallets, everything was cut off. I changed passwords, removed stored payment methods, revoked device permissions, and forwarded the transaction log to my lawyer. Then I made coffee. At 7:01, Lauren walked into the kitchen in cream silk pajamas, hair loose, looking effortless in the way women like her practice. Morning, she said. Morning. I slid a mug toward her. She took one sip, picked up her phone, and frowned. Tap, swipe, frown again. Then stillness. True stillness. 5 seconds later, Savannah came down the stairs with her phone in her hand. My card isn't working, she snapped. I sipped my coffee. That's because it isn't your card. Lauren looked up sharply. Arthur. I reached for the folder beside me and slid the papers across the island. Lauren scanned the first page, then the second. Savannah glanced down and rolled her eyes. Oh my God, she said. Are you seriously doing this? I looked at her. Doing what? It was one night, she snapped. And I bought Oliver's stuff too. I leaned back in my chair. Which part was the snack? No one answered. Lauren recovered first. She always recovered first. Arthur, let's not turn this into something ugly before breakfast. I looked at her, then at the itemized pages, then back at her. You used my son as cover. Savannah folded her arms. You have money. That sentence told me everything. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I made a mistake. Just that one flat, entitled truth. Your resources make my behavior acceptable. I stood, gathered the papers, and spread them across the island in a neat fan. 3 designer purchases, luxury suite charges, tablet, merchandise, private service fees. Almost 20 grand for Chin. Relax. Consider it her birthday gift early. She laughed when she said it. Actually laughed. As if this were all a small domestic misunderstanding between generous people. As if I were being uptight for objecting to theft with receipts. I smiled at her. Happy birthday, I said. Savannah smirked, thinking she'd won. Then I added, I froze every card attached to your accounts. The smirk vanished. Lauren stared. You did what? Every card, every shared payment method, every linked digital wallet, every household account. Gone. Savannah's face went white. You can't do that. I just did. Lauren set down her mug with deadly precision. Arthur, don't be ridiculous. I picked up my phone. My attorney already has the statements. You have until Friday to return the full amount. If you don't, I file a police report and pursue the charges formally. For the first time since I'd known her, Lauren had no immediate line ready. Savannah looked at her mother, panicked. Mom? Lauren found her voice. You would call the police on my daughter. If your daughter steals $19,000 from me and lies to my son to hide it, I said. Yes. Savannah started crying then, but it was the furious kind. The kind that comes from humiliation, not remorse. This is insane. At that exact moment, Oliver shuffled into the kitchen, hair wild, blanket dragging on the floor. Dad. My whole body softened. Morning, buddy. He looked around the room and immediately sensed something was wrong. Kids always know before adults admit it. Savannah spoke too fast. We're just talking. Oliver looked at me. You said not to tell. The kitchen went silent. I turned slowly toward Savannah. Lauren closed her eyes. Oliver rubbed one eye. At the game. You said not to tell Dad about the big room and the bags because you'd get in trouble. I crouched down to his level. Thank you for telling me. He glanced between the adults. Did I do something bad? No, I said. You told the truth, Savannah snapped. He doesn't understand. He understands honesty better than you do, I said without raising my voice. That landed harder than shouting would have. I stood back up and looked at Lauren. That's done, I said. Pack your things. Her head jerked. Excuse me? You and Savannah have until noon to remove your personal belongings. She stared at me. Disbelief slowly turning into rage. You are not throwing us out over this. This is not overspending. This is over access. And your access is over. Lauren switched tactics instantly. Arthur, think carefully, she said, lowering her voice. We're engaged. Not anymore. That is not your decision alone. I almost admired the audacity. Yes, I said. It is. Savannah let out a sharp, ugly laugh. Wow. So this is who you really are. I turned to her. No. This is who I am when I stop ignoring who you are. I sent Oliver upstairs to pack an overnight bag for Grandma's. He nodded and went without argument, which somehow made it worse. Children adapt too fast when adults have already made instability feel normal. The second he disappeared up the stairs, Lauren lost the softness completely. You are overreacting because you want control. No, I said. I'm responding because I finally noticed the pattern. I opened a second folder. That got her attention. Inside were 6 months of smaller charges I had started tracking once my instincts began whispering that something was off. Boutique purchases routed through household cards. Returns issued as store credit to Lauren's account. Restaurant upcharges. Beauty appointments disguised as grocery transactions. Repeated small expenses that added up to thousands. Lauren went still. Savannah looked at her mother too quickly. Interesting. I knew it, I said quietly. This wasn't one night. Lauren straightened. You've been spying on us? No, I've been paying attention. Savannah muttered. You said he'd never notice. Lauren spun toward her. Stop talking. But it was too late. There's a moment in every deception where the people involved realize the story has cracked beyond repair. Not because they feel guilty, because they understand they've lost control of the narrative. That moment had arrived. At 8:12, Lauren's mother called. Of course she did. Lauren always built an audience before a conflict fully started. Some people gather facts. She gathered witnesses. I answered and put the call on speaker. Arthur, Diane said in that polished, offended tone, only wealthy older women seem to master. What exactly is going on? Lauren says you're terrorizing Savannah over a misunderstanding. I leaned against the counter. Good morning, Diane. Savannah spent $19,400 on my card without permission after telling me she'd bought my son a snack. Lauren told me to treat it as an early birthday gift. A pause. Then, surely you don't mean to humiliate a teenage girl over money. 19, I said, not 13. And yes, I do object to theft. Lauren cut in. Mom, he's being dramatic. I ignored her. Did Lauren mention the VIP suite? The designer shoes? The tablet? The note on one of the purchases that literally said, birthday weekend. Relax? Silence. Then Diane tried the next script. If you truly loved them, this wouldn't be your response. That one almost made me smile. If they truly loved me, I said, this conversation wouldn't exist. I ended the call. Lauren looked at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. Men like me are easy to misread when we stay calm too long. People mistake steadiness for compliance. They assume that because you are patient, you are soft. Because you are generous, you are endless. Because you don't perform your boundaries every day, you must not have any. They confuse peace with passivity. By 9 o'clock, Lauren's brother Nate showed up. Big guy, loud voice, the kind of man who uses other people's kitchens like he owns them. He walked straight into my house and said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I pointed at the front door. "You can leave now." He ignored that and jabbed a finger at me. Freezing their cards? Threatening police? Over some shoes and a tablet? I handed him the statements. He read them. And beautifully, his face changed. Because swagger survives abstraction. It rarely survives itemized fraud. Savannah hissed. It wasn't all me. Nate looked at Lauren. Lauren looked murderous. I said nothing. Finally, Nate lowered the papers and muttered, Jesus. Lauren snapped. Don't start. He looked between us. How much did you think he wouldn't notice? Wrong question. The room changed again. Lauren folded her arms. I'm not standing here being judged in front of him. In front of me, I said. This happened to me. You're enjoying this. That accusation was almost impressive in its shamelessness. No, I said. I'm documenting it. At 10:30, while they were supposedly packing, I took down every framed photo Lauren had put up in the house over the last year. Not because I wanted to erase history, because I wanted to reclaim my walls. She had done that gradually. Added herself and Savannah to shelves, hallways, side tables. Replaced older photos with updated family moments. Occupied visual territory before emotional territory was secure. One Christmas picture in particular made my hands tighten. It was Oliver in the center, me beside him, Lauren touching my arm, Savannah leaning in with a bright camera smile. Perfectly composed. Totally false. I set it face down in the box. Lauren walked in and watched me. That's cruel. No, I said. Cruel would have been marrying you. She flinched. Good. Some truths arrive late, but they still deserve to be spoken. By noon, they were carrying bags to the SUV in silence. Not humbled, not sorry. Furious that consequence had entered a story they thought would always end in negotiation. Before Lauren left, she turned in the doorway and gave me one final attempt at dignity. You are making a catastrophic mistake. I looked at her. At Savannah behind her, with swollen eyes and a handbag worth more than my first month's rent in dental school. At the chaos they had mistaken for leverage. No, I said. I almost did. Then I closed the door. You'd think that would be the end. It wasn't. By that evening, the social version of the story had already started moving. A mutual friend texted, heard things got intense. You okay? Another, Lauren says, Savannah made a mistake and you retaliated. A third, freezing cards overnight is a lot, Arthur. Of course it was. Because the story circulating wasn't mother and daughter exploited a widower's trust. used his son as cover, and drained nearly $20,000 from his account. It was successful older man financially punished two vulnerable women over a birthday misunderstanding. Lauren was good, but she had one weakness. She assumed presentation mattered more than paperwork. I sent the same message to 3 people only. Unauthorized charges totaling $19,400 were made on my account without permission. I have the receipts, statements, and device logs. I will not discuss it socially. Then I stopped responding. Silence backed by evidence is louder than outrage. Within 48 hours, the story began to collapse. Savannah had posted from the VIP suite before deleting it. One of Lauren's friends had complimented the shoes online 2 days before the birthday gift story began. Another mutual acquaintance remembered Lauren joking that she was already basically married to dentist money. People notice more than liars think. They just stay quiet until the truth becomes expensive. 3 days later, Lauren called. I answered because by then, I wanted to hear what desperation sounded like in her voice. "Can we talk?" she asked. "We are. I mean, seriously. We should have done that before the shopping spree." She exhaled sharply. "This has gone too far. It went too far at $200. You just didn't care until $19,400. There was silence. Then she tried logic. "If you do this formally, you'll ruin Savannah's future. She should have considered that before using my card. She's 19, Arthur. Yes, an adult. You are enjoying having power over us. That line again. Always power, never accountability." "I am enjoying clarity," I said. She went quiet for a few seconds, then shifted strategy. "If I repay some of it, can we keep this private?" "Some. You know what I mean." "No. I know what you want. Full repayment. Written acknowledgement." "Then I decide whether this stays civil." Her voice hardened. "You want a confession. I want a record." By the end of the week, the first wire transfer came through. Not all of it. Enough to prove she had access to money she'd pretended not to have. My attorney sent a response the same day. Partial repayment did not waive liability. The next afternoon, Savannah called me from an unknown number. She was crying for real this time. "Please don't destroy my life," she said. I shut my office door and sat down. "Do you know what Oliver asked me?" I said. She sniffed. "What?" "He asked if adults are allowed to lie when they're pretty." Silence. Long, painful silence. Because that cut past money, past luxury, past image, it went straight to the thing she had damaged most, the moral world of a child. "He asked why you told him to hide something if it wasn't wrong," I continued. "That's what you bought with my money, Savannah. Not shoes, not a tablet. You bought confusion for a little boy." She started sobbing. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "No," I said. "At first you said, 'I have money.'" She cried harder. Then, so quietly I almost missed it, she said, "Mom said you wouldn't really do anything." There it was. The engine under the whole machine. Lauren had never believed I would stop them. She had built her strategy around my reluctance to create conflict around Oliver, around appearances, around an engagement. She mistook restraint for surrender. She was wrong, I said. By Monday, the full amount had been returned. Not by Savannah, obviously. She didn't have that kind of money. By Lauren. The written acknowledgement came too carefully worded, negotiated by my attorney, but clear enough. Unauthorized use, repayment, no future claim that the charges had been gifts. I did not file the police report after that, not because Lauren deserved mercy, because I already had what mattered. My money back, my record, and permanent distance. Some people would say I let them off easy. They'd be wrong. There are consequences more painful than court. Exposure, loss of access, loss of narrative, loss of the future they had already begun spending in their minds. Lauren didn't just lose an engagement. She lost the version of her life she had clearly planned. The respected fiancé of a successful professional, the elegant, blended family image, the financial merge she kept nudging toward with careful timing and prettier language. Savannah didn't just lose shopping privileges. She hit the first real wall of her adult life and found out it didn't move just because she cried at it. And me, I got my house back, my son back, my peace back. A week later, I found one of Oliver's drawings under the couch. It showed the basketball game in crayon. Me, him, and Savannah. Savannah had giant red shoes and a speech bubble that said, "Don't tell Dad." I sat on the floor holding that paper for a long time. Children always know. They just don't have adult words for manipulation yet. That evening, Oliver and I ate pancakes for dinner because I was too tired to cook anything else, and he thought breakfast food at night felt rebellious. Halfway through, he looked up at me and asked, "Are they coming back?" "No." He nodded. Then he asked, "Did I mess it up?" I put down my fork. "Nobody. You told the truth. You did the exact right thing." He absorbed that quietly. "Are you sad?" he asked. "A little." "Me too." Then he took another bite and said, "But it feels quieter." He was right. The house did feel quieter. No endless delivery notifications. No perfume clouding every hallway. No strategic little comments about upgrades and improvements. No subtle evaluation of what I could provide, fund, fix, or absorb. Just quiet. Real quiet. The kind that sounds like relief when you've been living inside disguised extraction. About 6 weeks later, Savannah showed up at my practice. No makeup, no designer performance, no confidence. Just a 19-year-old girl standing in my reception area, looking suddenly much younger than I remembered. My receptionist buzzed my office. "There's someone here for you. Says it's personal." When I stepped out and saw her, I almost sent her away. Instead, I said, "2 minutes." We went into a consultation room. She clasped her hands so tightly her knuckles went white. "I got a job," she said. "I waited at a bookstore, and I'm taking classes at community college now." Still, I said nothing. She swallowed. "I know you probably don't care." "That's not true," I said. Her head lifted. "I care very much what kind of adult you become, just not enough to rescue you from becoming one." Her eyes filled. "I was awful," she whispered. I studied her for a moment. "No," I said. "You were entitled. Awful can be permanent. Entitled can be corrected if life stops cooperating." A tear slipped down her cheek. I really did like Oliver. I believed that, oddly enough. But liking someone is not the same as protecting them. "You still used him," I said. She nodded. "I know." At the door, she paused. "My mom still says you overreacted." I almost smiled. "Of course she does." Savannah gave one tiny nod. "I don't anymore." Then she left. I never saw Lauren again. I heard things through other people, naturally, that she had downsized, that she complained about me to anyone who would listen until enough of them quietly stopped listening, that she called me cold, controlling, vindictive, that she was dating again, that she had become much more careful about presenting herself as independent. None of it mattered, because by then I finally understood something I should have learned much earlier. Not everyone who wants a place in your life wants to love you. Some want to leverage you. Some want to consume your stability. Some look at your discipline, your calm, your resources, your generosity, and they do not feel gratitude. They feel opportunity. And when you finally close your hand around what is yours, they call you cruel because they had already decided it belonged to them. That's the part people miss when they hear this story. They think the turning point was when I froze the cards. It wasn't. The real turning point was the moment Lauren laughed and said, "Relax, consider it her birthday gift early." That laugh told me there was no misunderstanding to solve, no values to reconnect, no line accidentally crossed, only assumption. She assumed my kindness was permanent. She assumed my money was negotiable. She assumed my son was useful. She assumed I would rather keep the peace than defend the truth. She was wrong. A month after all of it, Oliver and I went to another basketball game. Just us. Regular seats, one giant pretzel, one overpriced soda. No VIP room, no designer bags, no fake family performance. At halftime, he leaned against me and said, "This is better." "Better than the fancy seats?" I asked. He nodded. "Why?" He shrugged in that simple, devastating way children have. "Because nobody's lying." That was it. That was the whole thing, reduced to one sentence by a 9-year-old. I looked at him, really looked at him, and felt the last of the guilt leave me. I hadn't been too harsh. I hadn't overreacted. I hadn't ruined anything real. I had stopped something rotten before it spread further into my son's life. So yes, I smiled and said, "Happy birthday." And then, before breakfast was even over, I cut off every hand that had mistaken my open door for ownership. That was the morning Lauren opened her app and went silent. 5 minutes later, I got the call. Not from love, not from family, from panic. And by then, finally, I knew the difference.